Hi friends, it's Miss Homan from Room 9. I am here to bring you another lesson. This week we are going to do a wonders lesson. I know my friends in Room 9 really love it when we do wonders and we read the stories and learn the vocabulary and all those fun things. So let's take a look at what our wonders is going to be like. This week we're starting a new unit, Unit 5. You are going to need a piece of paper and something to write with. Crayon, a marker, a pen, a pencil, just not your finger, something you can write with, and a piece of paper. But you can go get that. Right now you can go ahead and pause the video and go get it, and I'll be here waiting for you when you get back. Go ahead and pause it. All right, friends, I hope you got a chance to get what you needed. If you didn't, we're not going to use it for a little bit, but if you didn't get a chance, you can always pause the video. Don't forget. All of these videos can be paused and rewound and watched over and over as many times as you feel like you need to get the idea. So, like I said, we are starting Unit 5 this week. So let's see what it's all about. Okay. Let's make a difference. Remember, every unit in Wonders has a big idea, and then every week has an essential question. So the big idea for all the weeks is, how can people make a difference? And this, you can't see me point. This gentleman, this boy, says the world is like a great big puzzle. And our job in life is to figure out where our piece fits. Mine just happens to fit with clean water. And this is Ryan Hurley, I can't say his last name. Ryan's Well Foundation. And so he helps people in countries that do not have clean water get clean water by building wells. And so that's how his puzzle piece fits into the big puzzle of the world. Now, this week, the question is, what do good citizens do? Now, if you remember, I know we've talked about this before. Citizens are just members of community. Excuse me. So you're a member of a community. I'm a member of a community. We are all citizens of this community. And we are going to take a couple minutes to talk about what do good citizens do. Let's take a look at our intro video this week.
Being a good citizen. What do good citizens do? There are many ways to be a good citizen. These good citizens are selling lemonade to raise money for their town's animal shelter. Good citizens help others. These children are collecting food for a food drive at their school. The food will help hungry people in their community. Good citizens also take their rights and responsibilities seriously. Voting is one right citizens have. These people are taking their right to vote seriously. They are good citizens too.
Okay, so let's look at that picture right there. What do good citizens do? And we are going to look over here at my chart paper. This is not what you need a chart paper for. But what do good citizens do? Now, let's think of some ideas. Everyone thinking. What did that video tell us that good citizens do? Oh, I remember. One of them said that good citizens help others. If you remember, the two different groups of students, one of them was raising money for the animal shelter, and the other one was collecting food for a food drive to help hungry people in the community. So both of those groups were helping others. Let's see, what else? I know, and this kind of goes along with that other one. What were they doing? They were thinking. Good citizens think of others first. So an example of that in our school would be at recess, if your friend wants to play soccer, but there's only one spot left for soccer, letting them go first. Those people were collecting food because those other people needed food. And so that was more important than them playing video games that day. Let's look at our, let's think of one more. Ooh, this is one that's really, really important. Good citizens make strong choices. Good citizens make strong choices. We talk about that at school a lot. And for example, it talked about how good citizens take their rights and responsibilities very seriously. Their rights and responsibilities that they talked about in the video was to vote. And so to make strong choices is to take that responsibility seriously and make sure that you vote if you have the chance to vote. Since we're still students, we probably don't get a chance to vote for the president or for the mayor, but we can vote for things at school, we can vote for things in the classroom, and we can just take that responsibility and make sure that we understand that it's important and we take it seriously, and that's making a strong choice. So that's kind of some stuff that good citizens do. Now we are going to look at our new vocabulary for this week, and then we're going to read about it in a story about a citizen and whether or not he made some good choices. So let's look at our vocabulary this week. We are going right here. Okay, now the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at our words. Our words are champion, determined, issues, promises, responsibility, rights, volunteered, and votes. So those are our words, and we actually just talked about those in our conversation about what do good citizens do. So let's look at some definitions. I just realized I'm cutting off my head. Okay, champion. Maya won the game and became the new champion. What does that mean? What does that mean? A champion is a person who has won a contest. So what's a synonym for champion? When you have an idea, shout it out for me. Oh, I heard you. Winner. A winner is a champion. Okay, now let's look at our next one. Determined. The boy determined which books to check out at the library. Determined. Determined. If you determined something, you decided it. So who determines what you wear to school? Well, since we wear uniforms most days, kind of the school determines it. But you get to determine maybe what you eat for lunch every day. Issues. The firemen talked about issues of fire safety with the children. Issues. Issues are important problems or subjects that people talk about. So, for example, some issues we might talk about in the classroom are great things that we had that day, great moments, or maybe if someone did something to make us sad or hurt our feelings, we'd have to talk about that. And that might be an issue in our classroom. A really great place that we talk about issues is in our family meetings that we have at the beginning or end of every day. Promises. Zach and John made promises to tell the truth and stay friends. Promises are things you say that you will definitely do. So when you make your promises, you want to make sure you keep them. Why do you think it's important to keep promises? Think of that to yourself. What did you? Oh, so people believe you. Okay, that's a great idea. Thanks for sharing that idea out. Responsibility. It is my responsibility to clean my room every week. If you have a responsibility to do something, it's your job to do it. So it's not your brother's job or your sister's job or your mom's job. What is a responsibility that you have at home? I know at my house, my responsibility is to cook dinner. That's my job. And walk Jake because he needs to walk. So, what is this responsibility you have at your house? Rights. Going to school is one of your rights as a citizen. We talked about good citizens taking their rights and responsibilities seriously. Rights are things the law says you can do or have. So, going to school is one of your rights as a citizen. And we talked about how citizens make strong choices and take their responsibilities and rights seriously. So that means your right to go to school is something that you should take seriously and important. Volunteered. I volunteered to help plant flowers in the garden. Oh, I know that you guys know what volunteer mean because you guys volunteer all the time. You offered to do it. You said, I can do it. So someone's absent today. I can be the line leader. Votes. I wonder who got the most votes in our class election. Votes are choices made by people to elect someone or opinions given to decide something. So, for example, we might vote on a story to read, or we might vote on the new game to play. We might vote on what to do for Fun Friday. So, those are all different things that we vote on. And maybe your parents vote in an election. So those are some really great different ideas. So those are our new vocabulary words, and we're going to read them in a story. The story we're going to read is called A Difficult Decision. Now, I want you to think in your head about a time that maybe you had to make a difficult decision and see if you can relate to the character that we are going to read about in our story. All right. Where'd it go? There it is. A difficult decision. Genre is realistic fiction. So we know that realistic fiction is something that could really happen, but it's not actually a real story. So, a difficult decision. My best friend Paul and I were excited to go to the park after school. The park had a new fort. The parks department let the children choose what kind of equipment to build, and the fort got the most votes. After school, Mom and I met Paul and his dad at the park. Paul and I raced to the top of the tower. I win! I'm the champion, I shouted. Look, Paul, someone left the newest game master here. It's mine now. Paul raised his eyebrows and looked thoughtfully. Wyatt, you cannot keep that game master, he said. You have a responsibility to return it. It's your duty. I asked, haven't you ever heard the saying, finders keepers, losers weepers? I have rights. I found it, so I am claiming it. Before we go to the next page, are they being good citizens? Are they both being good citizens? Is one of them being a good citizen? Are neither of them being good citizens? What do we think? You know, you can do whatever you want, Wyatt, but you know it's wrong to keep it, Paul said. And then he added, whenever there are issues like this at school, you're the one who helps solve the problems. Now you aren't taking your own advice. Then Paul added, I volunteered my thoughts. If you don't want to take the help I offered, there's nothing I can do. Paul was right. I couldn't keep the game because it wasn't mine. The person who lost it would be upset. I cleared my throat and said in my best, deep voice, I've determined. You're right. I'm delighted you decided to do the right thing, said Paul. We told my mother what had happened. She walked around the park with us so we could try to find the owner of the game. Soon we saw a boy and his mom looking for something. He looked hopeless and he burst into tears when we asked if the game was his. Yes, he wailed. I lost my game master a little while ago. I should have been more careful. Afterwards, Mom and I walked home. I was glad I returned the toy to the boy. So I made a promise to myself to always try to do the right thing. Now that is a vow I can keep. Ooh, I just heard a synonym in there. And I know Mr. Becker talked about synonyms last week. So promise and vow. I feel like those kind of mean the same thing. It's words that you want to keep. So when we are thinking about that story and we want to summarize it, we want to think, what happened at the beginning? The two characters, do you remember their names? Do you remember? Yes, Paul and Wyatt. They went to the park and they raced to the top of the fort, okay? And then what happened in the middle? Oh, that's right. They found the toy. And they had a very important discussion that we're actually going to talk about right now. This is when you might need your paper and pencil. And then what happened at the end? They returned it. You're right. They returned it. Was that being a good citizen? I agree. I agree the same as you, that was being a very good citizen. So we are going to talk about something called point of view today. And this is something that could have two different meanings. There's the point of view of the author. So there's who's telling the story. And sometimes it's a narrator that is not in the story. Who was telling the story in this story? Do you remember? You're right. It was Wyatt. So Wyatt was telling the story from his point of view. But there's also the point of view of something that's happening in the story. So we are going to talk about point of view of an event in the story. So we have two main characters. What did we say their names were? Oh, you might want to pause and go grab your paper. Okay, you're right. The first character's name was Wyatt. And the other character's name was, what was it? You're right, Paul. And we're going to talk about a very specific point in the story. So let me go back to the page that I want to talk about in the story. And it is right here. Who remembers what happened here? Oh, yes. Thanks for sharing. That is where they found the toy. So Wyatt, what was Wyatt's perspective about finding this toy? Right. Wyatt's perspective was, it's mine. So Wyatt thought that the game belonged to him now. And we know that because he said, I put quotes here, because he said in the story, it's mine. Now, here is the question that you are going to have to fill out on your piece of paper. So let me show you right there. so you can finish writing that down, and then you can listen to me while you're writing. What is Paul's point of view about what should Wyatt do with the game? So I'm going to add up here, point of view. We're going to add a little arrow right there, and we're going to say, what should Wyatt do with the game? This is a really great place to pause, copy this down, and then what I want you to do is tell me what Paul says. And you don't have to do it word for word, but what does Paul say, and what is his point of view about what should Wyatt do with the game? So we all have different points of view. And sometimes to be a good citizen, you might have to look at someone else's point of view and take it just as importantly as you take your own. Because they might have ideas and volunteer ideas to you that will help you determine the right thing to do. So, friends, I'm so very excited to see what you guys fill in for that chart for what Paul thinks Wyatt should do. And just remember some piece of evidence from your memory of what did Wyatt say, or what did Paul say to Wyatt, of how he thinks that he should handle it. So go ahead and write down the evidence, goes in the middle, and then what is Paul thinking? What do you think that Paul is thinking? Do your very best to sound out those words, and go ahead and share that with me. I'm so excited to hear what you guys all seem to think. And I am excited to come back with another Wonders lesson in just a few days, just to see. Maybe we'll read another story, but maybe we'll talk about some phonics. So I'll be back in a couple days, friends. I miss you. I'm so excited to be back sharing ideas with you on our virtual learning tools. Go ahead and make sure you check that class dojo every day and keep in contact with your teachers. I will talk to you soon. Bye.